My name is Natalie. I am 31 years old. About 6 months ago, my life crashed in a way I never expected. I learned that my husband Daniel, the man I had been married to for 7 years, had been cheating on me. The worst part was not only the cheating. It was who he cheated with. He was having an affair with my younger sister Fiona. Even now, it feels strange to write those words. It feels like something that happens in other people's stories, not in real life, not in my family. But it happened. And once the truth came out, nothing could go back to the way it was before. When I look back, I can see many signs. At the time, I did not see them clearly. Or maybe I saw them but did not want to believe them. Sometimes the mind protects itself by refusing to accept what is too painful. I think that is what happened to me. I wanted my marriage to be safe. I wanted my sister to be loyal. I wanted to believe the people I loved were not capable of hurting me like that. So I ignored my own instincts again and again. Daniel and I met in college. He was charming, funny, and confident. He was the type of person who could walk into a room and make people smile without trying hard. He had that easy energy that made everyone feel comfortable. I fell for that early. We started dating, and it felt natural, like we fit. We grew up together in a way. We went through exams, part-time jobs, the stress of figuring out our futures. We had dreams. We had plans. After graduation, we stayed together. We built a life step by step. A few years later, we got married. It was not a giant luxury wedding, but it was beautiful to me. We had family, friends, music, laughter. I remember thinking I was lucky. I remember thinking I had found my person. For a while, it felt like that was true. Our life was not full of constant excitement. It was normal. Daniel worked in marketing. I work as a graphic designer. We had routines. We worked during the day, came home at night, cooked dinner, watched shows, and talked about small things. On weekends, we ran errands, cleaned the house, visited family, or took little day trips. Nothing fancy, but I liked it. I liked the calm. I liked the steady feeling of knowing what our days looked like. I thought Daniel liked it too. I thought we were building a simple, solid life. Fiona was always part of my world. She is younger than me, and growing up she followed me everywhere. She was the bright and bubbly one in our family. She could make friends in minutes. She could talk to strangers like they had known each other for years. People loved her energy. She always seemed to be smiling. She always seemed to be in the middle of everything. As adults, we stayed close. In many ways, it felt like she was not just my sister, but also my best friend. We talked often. We shared secrets. We laughed together. I defended her when anyone criticized her. I trusted her completely. Fiona became a wedding planner, which fit her personality perfectly. She loved organizing and planning. She loved making things beautiful. She loved being the person who made other people feel special. When Daniel and I got married, she helped plan the wedding. She was beside me, supporting me, adjusting little details, calming my nerves. I remember being thankful. I remember thinking I could never do it without her. I never imagined she would become the person who would destroy my marriage. When I think about the early signs, I feel both angry and embarrassed. Angry because Daniel and Fiona were so careless at times. Embarrassed because I did not see what was right in front of me. It started with small changes in Daniel. He began working late more often. At first, it seemed normal. Marketing can be busy. Projects can be demanding. Clients can be difficult. He told me he had deadlines, meetings, and extra work. I believed him because I loved him and I had no reason to think he was lying. But the late nights became frequent. It was not just once in a while. It became a pattern. Some weeks, he stayed late multiple nights. When I asked him about it, he used the same answers. Work was crazy. A client needed something. A project was urgent. He also acted tired and stressed, which made me feel guilty for questioning him. Then there was his phone. Daniel was always a little protective of his things, but it became extreme. He kept his phone face down on the table. He took it everywhere, even to the bathroom. He never left it unattended. If a message came in, he would glance at it quickly and lock the screen. He started turning his screen away from me. It was subtle, but it was real. One day I joked about it, trying to keep it light. I asked if he was hiding something important. He laughed and gave a silly excuse about protecting the phone from scratches. It did not even make sense. But I told myself it was nothing. I did not want to be the kind of wife who fights over a phone. Another change was his appearance. Daniel used to dress in a relaxed way. He did not spend much time thinking about clothes. He did not care much about skincare. He did not run in the mornings. Then suddenly he started buying new clothes, trying new grooming products, and jogging early. He said he wanted to be healthier. That sounds good on the surface, but it felt odd because it came out of nowhere. I remember watching him lace his running shoes and feeling confused. Still, I tried to explain it away. People change. Maybe he really wanted to improve. Maybe he was having a late life wake-up call. I kept telling myself that because the other option was too painful. When I started feeling uneasy, I talked to Fiona. She was the person I trusted most besides my husband. I told her that Daniel seemed distant. I told her I felt lonely even when he was in the room. I told her I did not know what was happening between us. Fiona always calmed me down. She told me not to overthink. She told me all couples go through phases. She told me Daniel loved me. She told me to be supportive of his work stress. She said the right words every time. And because she was my sister, I believed her. Looking back, it makes me sick. She was not calming me because she cared about me. She was calming me because she needed me to stay blind. During those months, I started doubting myself. I questioned my instincts. I wondered if I was being too sensitive. I wondered if I was insecure. I wondered if stress from work was making me imagine problems. I told myself I should trust Daniel. I told myself I should trust Fiona. I told myself I was lucky to have both of them in my life. There were moments that hurt, even before I knew the truth. One night I walked into the kitchen and saw Daniel smiling at his phone. It was not a normal smile. It was soft and warm, like he was reading something sweet. When he saw me, he quickly locked the screen and put the phone down. He acted casual, like nothing happened. He said hello like I was just walking in from another room. Another time we had a date night planned. I had spent time getting ready. I wore a dress. I did my makeup. I wanted to feel like we were close again. Then he called and canceled. He said he had an emergency meeting with a client. I tried to act understanding, but after the call ended, I felt crushed. It felt like I did not matter. It felt like I was an afterthought. Fiona supported him even then. She told me not to take it personally. She said I should be proud he worked hard. She said I should be patient. She said marriages go through seasons. There were even times when I felt guilty for doubting Daniel. I remember lying awake thinking maybe I was being unfair. Maybe I was expecting too much. Maybe I was the problem. That is what manipulation does to a person. It makes you question your own reality. The truth is I trusted them both completely. I trusted Daniel because he was my husband. I trusted Fiona because she was my sister. I never thought they would betray me in the worst way possible. Then one night, after months of pushing my instincts down, something in me finally snapped. It was not a dramatic fight. It was not one huge moment. It was a slow build of small things that became too heavy. Daniel and I were sitting on the couch watching a show. He had his phone in his hand like always. I noticed him smiling at the screen again. It was that same gentle, affectionate look. I asked what was funny, trying to sound casual. He locked the screen fast and said it was just a work thing. That answer did not sit right with me. Work messages do not usually cause that kind of smile. I did not fight him. I did not argue. But that was the moment I decided I could not keep ignoring my gut feeling. That night, after Daniel went to bed, I stayed awake in the living room. My mind raced. I kept thinking about his late nights, his phone, his distance, and the way Fiona always brushed off my concerns. My stomach felt tight. A part of me already knew something was wrong. I just did not want to say it out loud. Then I remembered something. Years ago, when Daniel got a new phone, we linked our Apple accounts for convenience. It helped us share apps and music and other small things. I had not thought about it in a long time, but that night it came back to me clearly. If the link still existed, I might be able to see his messages. My hands were shaking when I picked up my phone. I went into settings and tried to reconnect his account. It worked. That alone made my heart beat faster. I opened his message history, and I started scrolling. At first I saw normal conversations. Family updates, work chats, random messages. Then I saw a thread with Fiona. My stomach turned. At the beginning, it looked innocent. Short messages about family plans and small talk. But as I scrolled back in time, the tone changed. The messages became more personal. There were inside jokes. There were late-night messages saying goodnight. There were comments that sounded intimate. Then I saw a photo. It was Fiona wearing a sweater I recognized immediately. It was Daniel's sweater. I had seen him wear it at home many times. Fiona wrote that she stole it and hoped he did not mind. I stared at that photo for a long time. My brain tried to reject it. My brain tried to explain it away. Maybe she borrowed it casually. Maybe it was a joke. But deep down I knew that was not the truth. I felt an urge to run into the bedroom and wake Daniel. I wanted to scream. I wanted to demand answers. I wanted to break something just to release the pain. But I did not. Something told me this was not a small mistake. If they were that comfortable, it had been happening for a long time. I needed to know the full truth, not just a piece. I needed proof. I needed to be smart. So I kept digging. I checked other apps on his phone. That is when I found WhatsApp. Their WhatsApp chats were not innocent. They were not vague. They were direct. They made plans to meet. They talked about hiding things from me. They also talked about hiding things from Fiona's fiancé Alex. They joked about how trusting I was. They joked about how clueless Alex was too. They talked like they were in their own private world, like they were the only two people who mattered. One message from Fiona hit me hard. She told Daniel that I would be working late the next day and he could come over. She said she would make his favorite meal. She wrote it so casually, like it was normal for my husband to come to her home. I felt sick. I felt like I could not breathe. I started taking screenshots of everything. I saved them and sent them to myself. I did not know what I would do yet, but I knew I needed proof. I knew if I confronted them without proof, they might lie and twist the story. They might call me paranoid. They might try to make me doubt myself again. Over the next days, I kept checking their messages. It was like watching a horror movie where you cannot look away. They talked about hotels, dinners, weekends. They spoke with affection. They spoke with excitement. Fiona sent photos of clothes and lingerie and talked about wearing them for Daniel. Daniel responded with compliments like it was normal. The cruelty of it was not only that they were cheating. It was that they were mocking the people they were hurting. The hardest part was living normally while knowing the truth. I still had to go to family dinners. I had to smile at Fiona. I had to sit next to Daniel and act like everything was fine. Every smile felt like a mask. Every hug felt fake. I felt like my body was full of anger and I was forcing it down every second. Once you know a truth like that, you start noticing everything. I noticed the way Fiona touched Daniel's arm when she left. I noticed the quick glances they shared across a room. I noticed the way Daniel would suddenly become quiet when Fiona walked in, like he was aware of her in a special way. I also checked Daniel's calendar. I synced it to my phone when he was in the shower one night. That is when I saw how much they had been meeting. Client meeting was code. Gym session was code. Work event was code. There were days blocked off for entire weekends. There were repeated patterns, like they had built a schedule around their affair. I remember sitting on the bed staring at the screen, feeling like my whole life was a lie. I wondered how long it had been going on. I wondered how many times they had looked me in the eye and lied. I wondered how many family dinners were full of secrets, but I did not confront them yet. I stayed quiet. I needed a moment where the truth could not be denied. I needed a moment where they could not twist it into a story where I was the problem. I needed to expose them in a way that made it impossible to hide. Before the final explosion, there was an event that still makes my blood boil when I remember it. Fiona organized a charity run in town. The money was going to a local children's hospital. She had been planning it for months. She talked about it constantly. She was proud. Everyone praised her for doing something good. I decided to take part because it was for a good cause. Daniel also signed up, which felt strange because he was not the type to wake up early for a charity run. But he acted excited. He said it would be fun, a way to spend time together as a family. If I had not known what I knew, I might have thought it was sweet. The day of the event was sunny and warm. There were families, couples, kids, volunteers. Fiona was in her element. She wore an organizer shirt and carried a clipboard. She moved around confidently, giving instructions and smiling for photos. She looked like the perfect community hero. Watching her act kind and caring made me want to scream. It felt like watching someone play a role. Daniel stayed close to her, helping set up tents, handing out water bottles, acting like he was proud of her. People probably thought he was being supportive as a brother-in-law. But I knew the truth. Every time Daniel spoke to Fiona, his voice lowered slightly. Every time Fiona laughed, she leaned toward him. They exchanged quick glances when they thought no one noticed. Once you see something, you cannot unseen it. The run was about 5 kilometers. I am not a serious runner, so I stayed toward the back. Daniel and Fiona ran ahead. They stayed close the whole time like they were a team. At one point, I saw Fiona laugh and playfully shove Daniel's arm. It looked like a couple flirting, not family. After the run, there was a small ceremony. Fiona handed out awards and gave a speech. She thanked the community and talked about coming together for a good cause. Then she said the event would not be possible without support from family and friends, and she glanced at Daniel while saying it. My stomach turned. Later, people gathered for photos. I hung back and checked the WhatsApp messages again. By then, I had fallen into the habit of checking whenever I could, like my brain needed constant proof to believe what I already knew. Their messages from that morning were full of flirting. Fiona told Daniel she could not wait to see him in his running outfit. Daniel responded with playful affection and said he would stay close to her so they could motivate each other. They made plans to meet near a water station after the run. It felt like they could not go even a few hours without feeding their secret world. I wanted to expose them right then. I wanted to grab the microphone and tell everyone. But I held myself back. I was not ready yet. I wanted the moment to be bigger, clearer, unavoidable. So I forced a smile and joined the group photos. Fiona pulled me into a hug for one photo. Her arms around me felt like poison. I wanted to step away. I wanted to push her off. Instead, I stood there and smiled like a fool. That is what survival can look like sometimes. You smile because you are trying not to fall apart in public. Later, during refreshments, I saw Fiona and Daniel standing off to the side talking quietly. Fiona adjusted Daniel's race bib, her hand staying on his chest longer than it needed to. Daniel smiled at her in that soft way I had seen before. When Daniel came to me afterward, he kissed my forehead like a loving husband. The gesture made my skin crawl because I knew it was fake. I made a neutral comment about how he and Fiona seemed to enjoy the run. He smiled and praised Fiona, saying she worked hard and did great. I wanted to shout that she also worked hard ruining my marriage. That day drained me. But it also fueled me. Watching them act like nothing was wrong made my anger sharper. It made me sure that I could not let them walk away with this. Fiona's wedding to Alex was coming up in a few weeks. Fiona was obsessed with making it perfect. Since she was a wedding planner, she went all out. The venue was beautiful. White tents, fairy lights, a picture-perfect outdoor setting. Guests from both sides were invited, including friends, coworkers, and relatives who traveled to attend. I was the maid of honor. That meant I was deeply involved. I helped with details. I attended planning meetings. I listened to Fiona talk excitedly about her future with Alex, even though I knew she had been betraying him too. In the days before the wedding, I went back and forth in my mind. I knew I could not sit through the ceremony and pretend everything was fine. The idea of Fiona standing there acting pure, while Daniel sat nearby acting like a proud brother-in-law, made me feel sick. but I also did not want to expose them without proof in a way that could be twisted. I wanted the truth to come out clearly. I wanted it to land like a heavy stone, not like a rumor. On the morning of the wedding, I woke up with a strange calm. I had spent weeks preparing. I had the screenshot saved. I had the messages organized. I knew what I was going to do. The morning was busy. I helped Fiona get ready. I made sure her dress sat perfectly. I checked her makeup. I helped fix her hair and veil. She looked beautiful, and that almost made it worse. She held my hands and told me she could not have done it without me. She said I was the best sister anyone could ask for. I smiled and said something polite, but inside I felt cold. I did not feel like a sister in that moment. I felt like someone standing next to a stranger who had stolen my life. Daniel arrived before the ceremony in a suit, looking sharp. He smiled at me warmly, like we were still the happy couple everyone believed we were. That smile made my stomach twist. It felt like a performance. He also spent a lot of time near Fiona, checking details, helping with small tasks. To outsiders, it probably looked normal. But I could see the secret closeness. The ceremony itself was beautiful. Fiona walked down the aisle, and Alex looked at her like she was the love of his life. For a brief moment, I felt a flash of guilt. I wondered if I was about to ruin something that did not need to be ruined. Then I remembered the lies. The messages. The photos. The jokes about me being too trusting. The nights I cried while Daniel disappeared into fake meetings. The guilt vanished. At the reception, the moment came. As maid of honor, I was expected to give a speech. That was the perfect stage. Everyone would be listening. Everyone would be focused. Fiona would expect sweetness and praise. Daniel would sit there smiling, thinking he was safe. I stood up with my drink and took a deep breath. The room became quiet. People looked at me with friendly attention. I started normally. I thanked guests for coming. I praised the wedding and the effort Fiona and Alex put into it. People nodded and smiled. Fiona beamed. She thought this was going to be a warm speech about love and family. Then I shifted. I said that as Fiona's sister and maid of honor, I had a front row seat not only to the wedding planning, but to another story that people did not know. I took out my phone. The room went silent in a different way. You could feel the change. Fiona's smile froze. Daniel's posture shifted like he suddenly became aware of danger. I opened the saved screenshots and read a message out loud. A message where Fiona spoke to Daniel with affection. Gasps spread through the room. People whispered. Fiona looked like she might collapse. I read another message, one that talked about me working late and Daniel coming over to Fiona's place. I added that the message was sent while I was at work, helping pay for this wedding. My voice stayed steady, but inside I felt like my heart was exploding. Chaos followed. Fiona cried. Daniel tried to stand and speak. Alex grabbed my phone and started scrolling through the messages himself. When he looked up, his face was red with shock and anger. He asked Fiona if it was true. She could not answer. She just sat there crying while everyone stared. I could have kept speaking. I had enough proof to talk for an hour. But I did not need to. The truth was visible. The messages were real. There was no way to deny it. I stepped away from the microphone and walked out. I went straight home. I did not want to hear excuses. I did not want to see the fallout in person. My phone rang nonstop. Messages piled up. I ignored most of them because I needed space to breathe. Later, my cousin Jenna told me what happened after I left. Alex confronted Fiona in front of everyone. He demanded to know how long it had been going on. Fiona could not give a clear answer. Alex threw down his napkin and walked out, leaving his own reception. Guests were stunned. People did not know what to do. Daniel tried to chase me, but family members stopped him. They told him he had done enough. Fiona cried hard, but few people comforted her. Her friends looked shocked. The mood of the whole event collapsed. Guests began leaving early. Alex's family, who had paid for much of the wedding, was furious. They packed up and left without speaking to Fiona's side of the family. The wedding ended like a party where the music suddenly cuts off and everyone stands around in awkward silence. The next day, I filed for divorce. I had the papers ready. I had been preparing, waiting for the right moment. When Daniel came home, he looked like someone who had been crushed. He did not deny anything. He just said something that sounded almost empty, like he knew it was over. I handed him the papers and told him to sign. I told him to pack his things and leave. He tried to apologize. I shut it down. Years of betrayal cannot be fixed with a few sorry words. Daniel moved out that weekend and went back to his parents' home. I assumed the damage would stay within the family. But life does not stay quiet anymore. Someone at the wedding filmed part of my speech. They shared it online. It did not become famous worldwide, but it spread through our social circles fast. People talked. People shared. People judged. Eventually, someone from Daniel's workplace saw it. Daniel worked as a marketing director at a mid-sized company. His CEO, Clara, had a reputation for being strict and direct. She also supported women in the workplace and did not tolerate drama. According to someone who knew the situation, she called Daniel into her office and told him the company could not have someone with that kind of behavior representing them. She gave him a choice to resign or be fired. He resigned. Fiona also faced consequences. Her wedding planning business depended on reputation and trust. Once people learned what she had done, clients canceled. Some demanded refunds. Fiona had already used much of the money, so she could not pay them back easily. Within a month, she had to shut down her business. People did not want a wedding planner who destroyed her own sister marriage. The irony was sharp. Fiona made a living building perfect weddings, and she destroyed her own before it even became real. Fiona tried to contact me after everything. She sent long emotional messages about regret and shame. She said she never meant it to happen. She said she hated herself. I did not respond. I did not have the energy to listen to her excuses. Choices have consequences, and she had made hers. My parents' reaction was complicated. My mother wanted peace. She tried to push me toward forgiving Fiona. She said family is family. She said we were close growing up. She said I might regret cutting her out of my life. I told her some betrayals are too big to repair. I told her I could not pretend everything was fine. My father was angrier. He told Fiona she had brought shame and pain into the family. He said he could not even look at her. That was the closest thing to real support I felt from my parents at the time. Alex and I did not talk much immediately after the wedding, but I heard he filed for an annulment. His family had spent a lot of money, and he wanted to recover what he could. I also heard he wanted legal action related to gifts and wedding costs. I do not know the full details, but I know he was not going to let the situation slide quietly. One surprising thing was the support I received from friends and even people I had not spoken to in years. Some reached out to check on me. Some told me they were sorry. Some said they always felt something off about Fiona but never imagined it would be that bad. It was strange, but it helped. It reminded me I was not completely alone. The months after were difficult. I swung between anger, sadness, numbness, and exhaustion. I had days where I felt strong and days where I could barely get out of bed. The betrayal replayed in my head. I kept remembering little moments and seeing them differently. I kept thinking about how many times Fiona hugged me while hiding the truth. I kept thinking about how Daniel kissed me and said he loved me while he was also sending messages to my sister. I moved into a new apartment downtown. It was a small one-bedroom, but it had big windows and lots of light. It was not fancy, but it felt like a clean beginning. I got rid of many things that reminded me of Daniel. It was painful and also freeing. There is something powerful about shaping a space that belongs only to you. Work became my safe place. I threw myself into projects. I took on more tasks. I focused on building something I could control. My boss noticed and offered me a promotion. That moment mattered more than I expected. It was proof that I could still grow, even after my personal life collapsed. Then there was Alex. At first, we only exchanged a few messages. Simple check-ins. Updates on the fallout. Small words of support. We were both hurt by the same two people. We both felt embarrassed and angry and shocked. That shared pain created an unusual connection. Eventually, we met for coffee near my apartment. We talked for hours. We did not only talk about betrayal. We talked about movies, childhood memories, silly mistakes, work stress, and random life things. For the first time in months, I laughed without forcing it. It felt like air entering my lungs after holding my breath too long. Those coffee meetings became dinners. The dinners became something more. We started dating a couple of months ago. I will be honest, it is scary. Trust does not return quickly after what happened. But Alex understands. He does not pressure me. He does not demand emotional promises. He moves slowly and I do the same. We are both careful because we know how badly people can lie. One day Alex and I went to a park for a picnic. It was a park Daniel and I used to visit. I avoided it for months because it felt tied to the past. But being there with Alex felt different. It felt like I was taking back a place that had been stained. We sat on a blanket, ate sandwiches, and laughed about silly things. In that moment, I realized my anger was not controlling me the way it used to. That does not mean I forgave Daniel or Fiona. I did not. Forgiveness is not something you owe to people who hurt you. But I did stop letting them live in my mind all day. I stopped giving them my energy. They did not deserve it. Therapy helped too. At first, I was unsure. It felt like something other people did, not me. But it became one of the best decisions I made. My therapist helped me process the guilt, the rage, the grief, and the confusion. She helped me understand that being betrayed does not mean I was weak or stupid. It means I trusted people who did not deserve trust. She helped me see that boundaries are not cruel. They are protection. She helped me accept that cutting someone out of your life can be the healthiest choice, even if they share your blood. I also learned that healing is not straight. Some days I feel strong and peaceful. Some days I see a memory or hear a song or visit a place, and it knocks me down for a while. That is normal. Pain does not vanish in one clean moment. It fades unevenly, like a bruise that heals slowly. As time passed, I heard bits of information about Fiona and Daniel. Fiona moved to another state. I do not know exactly where because I blocked her on everything. From family gossip, I heard she took a small job, something far from the life she used to show off. Daniel struggled too. After leaving his job, he tried to find work elsewhere. But his reputation followed him. People talk. People share. He ended up doing small freelance work and living with his parents. I do not take joy in someone suffering, but I also do not feel sorry for him. He made his choices. My parents still struggle. My mother still hopes I will reconcile with Fiona one day. She hates the idea of a broken family. My father stays distant from Fiona and seems more willing to accept that some damage cannot be undone. It is painful for them, but it is not my job to fix a mess I did not create. Now, when I look at my life, I can say I am in a better place. It is not perfect. It is not what I imagined years ago when I married Daniel. But it feels like it belongs to me again. I have a home that feels peaceful. I have work that gives me pride. I have friendships that feel real. I have a relationship that is careful and honest. I have hope again, and that is something I thought I lost forever. I have also started thinking about the future in ways I stopped doing during my marriage. I want to travel. I used to dream about Italy and Japan. Daniel always said maybe someday, but someday never came. Now I can plan those things for myself. Maybe next year I will go. Maybe I will simply keep building a life where I choose what happens, instead of waiting for someone else. If anyone reading this is going through betrayal, I want you to know something important. You are stronger than you think. It will hurt. It will feel like your world is collapsing. You may question your worth. You may question your judgment. You may feel ashamed even though you did nothing wrong. But you can survive it. Do not let anyone tell you how to heal. Do not let anyone rush you into forgiving. Do not let people pressure you into staying connected to someone who harms you. Take your time. Protect your peace. Build boundaries. Lean on people who prove they are safe. And if your instincts tell you something is wrong, listen. Trust yourself. Even if you do not want the truth, you deserve it. You deserve a life where love does not come with lies. I cannot change what Daniel and Fiona did. I cannot undo the years I spent trusting them. But I can choose what I do now. I can choose what kind of life I build after betrayal. I can choose to become stronger and wiser, not bitter and broken. That is where I am now. Not fully healed, but moving forward. Not perfect, but free. Not the same person I was before, but maybe someone who understands her own worth more deeply than ever. And I will never again shrink my truth to make liars comfortable.